Hey everyone, this is Lisa from Life in Layouts, and I am back with It's All About the Mouse. This month we are focusing on this flyer here that is the guide to the Pixar Fest, which is over at Disneyland. I decided to pull out the Simply Sketch from Scrapbook Generation. It has 22-page sketches for 4x6 photos only. And I'm going to be using the Incorporated Monster Kit from KellyBell Design. This kit is a digital kit, so you can print out all of the elements that you need for your layout. I did design this layout on Canva first because I don't have a 12 by 12 printer. So I knew that I needed to print the papers in a size that would work for me. When I was looking through the sketch, I wanted to make sure that I had papers that could be printed in a less than 8.5 by 11 format. I decided that I was going to use the strips of paper. At first I thought I could just print them out in a row and then it would make it super easy to get them on my layout. But then once I got it printed out and I was working through the papers trying to get them on my layout, I remembered that I wanted to put a banner at the bottom of them. So I did have to cut these strips out individually. All of these patterns come in the kit that I purchased. I ended up purchasing 3 kits from KellyBell Designs. The 3 kits that I purchased was the Incorporated Monster Kit, the Incorporated Monster Word Art, and the Incorporated Monster Word Flair, and I will link all of those below for you. I'm going back and forth between cutting out the papers and pulling these things off of my silhouette because I did use the print and cut feature on my silhouette. And so as they are coming off of the silhouette, I'm pulling them off the mat so that I can put another piece down and continue to cut it out as I'm working through those papers. So this is a little bit different than what I normally do. I tend to work in stages, but because I had several papers that had to be cut out on my silhouette, I had to go back and forth. This title, My Favorite Monsters, did really well on my silhouette, but there were some of the more intricate pieces that I had to use my X-Acto knife on to make sure that I got all of the pieces out. But I love this title. I just recently found KellyBell Designs and I'm loving all of her Disney collections. This is really also the first time that I've used digital content, but I'm finding it pretty easy to work with. Definitely go check them out. She has so many collections. I do enjoy purchasing these digital collections because I'm able to tailor my purchases to a specific layout as opposed to the feeling of needing everything when I do purchase bigger collections because I don't know what I'm going to need. But in these digital collections, one, you get a lot of pieces for not a lot of money, and 2, I'm able to print out as much as I need. I also want to encourage you guys to check out everyone that is linked below. I'm excited to see how everyone takes this inspiration. There's so much that you can do with the Pixar Fest inspiration. I chose to do my meet and greet with Mike and Sully, but really you could do any movie. So I'm always excited to see what everyone else is doing with these inspirations because sometimes people go in a totally different way and my mind never would have gone there. So all kinds of inspiration, and everyone is linked below. So I spent a lot of time working through getting all of these pieces out, and then I didn't even realize that Mike's little eye in the O of monster came out. And later on, I'm actually going to put that up on Fun Foam a little bit higher than the title. So now I have all the pieces that I'm going to need for my layout cut out from my silhouette. And I am definitely not good at figuring out proportions. I even designed this layout on Canva thinking that that would help, but for whatever reason, it didn't transfer over correctly when I went to print it out on my silhouette. So things were a lot bigger than I thought they were, especially those die cuts. But they're not as big as my Splash Mountain die cut, so we're going in the right direction. Now I'm back to working on the strips of paper. The paper that I decided to use from the collection leaned a lot towards Sully's look and Mike's look. So I pulled out the green polka dot as well as the blue and purple polka dot, but it's more like Sully's fur. And then I pulled out a solid in green as well as purple, and then I pulled in a stripe of blue and purple as well. And then, of course, I had to add Boo's door because there's a door in the photos as well, but I mean, the door is iconic in Monsters, Inc. So after I got all of the strips cut out, because these are digital content, I did have a little bit of a white border around some of the papers. So I decided that I was going to go ahead and ink, and I would ink to match the paper. So I pulled out a blue and a green and started inking up. There were a lot of strips to ink up. Not including the doors, there is a total of 16 strips. But I did cut out more because, again, the proportions were not the same as they were online. And it's just something that I need to work through and try to figure out. As I started to ink up these papers, it was just a hot chaos mess, and I needed to have some organization. My type A personality was definitely coming out. So I do put the strips in piles, which made it a little bit easier to run through the inking process, as well as putting a border edge to the strips. I just found out that this Stampin' Up! Border punch is no longer available. And that just makes me so sad because I love this punch. However, I did find out that they do have a new punch that looks like a ticket. So very similar. It has two sides to it. And it's supposed to resemble a ticket, which of course I'm going to have to get that as well. But I do use this punch a lot. And I have gotten a couple of questions on my channel. And unfortunately, Stampin' Up! Has retired this punch. But I'm sure that you can still find it on eBay or other secondhand stores. Also, when I was designing this layout in Canva, I had used a ribbon that was 1/4 of an inch that I was going to cut out and put on the top and bottom, but I forgot to cut it out. So I decided to just pull out my Petite prints and use a yellow strip. So I was matching it up with the yellow canister. Then I laid out my photos. I was able to get 5 4x6 photos on this layout. I really love when I'm able to get full-size photos on my layouts. It really does bring them as the focal point. And this is the second layout that I've done recently, the last one being my Christmas layout, where I did just a row of photos. And I really like that idea of doing the row of photos because it just brings your eye across the entire layout. I'm starting to lay my strips down, and I'm doing them in the same pattern that I had when I designed it on Canva. Once I got them all laid out, I realized again that they were larger than what I had designed, so I did have a couple of extras, but I just went with it. I started on the far left-hand side using my T-square ruler. You guys can see that this T-square ruler is straight. It's straight on the paper. I'm lining my strips up, going all the way down the paper, getting all of the strips on. I do turn the ruler over and line it up again, so I'm still making sure that it is absolutely straight. The door is a little crooked because of the way that it was designed, but when I get to the right-hand side, my paper's not straight. I don't understand it. I know that I never get anything straight, but that is significantly off. And I just don't get it. I don't get why I struggle so much with getting things straight. So what I decided to do was pull everything up, and I think it was the door. The door is designed to be a little wonky because of the way that it is in the movie. It is a little wonky. It sits a little wonky. Most of the time it is sitting at an angle, like when they're trying to pull it off of the stand that it goes in. So I decided to tuck the paper next to it, which is the one that looks like Sully, under the door a little bit, and that does help it line up straighter. It's still not completely straight, but I'm just going with it. There's a creator on YouTube whose channel is something like, if it's not crooked, I didn't make it. And I'm like, girl, I'm right there with you. That is absolutely my tagline because I can never, ever get anything straight. And I also designed this layout so that I would have full strips on the left and right. My paper's printed out larger than what I thought, so I ended up cutting that green strip in the middle. So I'm still learning about digital content, but I am really enjoying using it on my layouts, and definitely check out KellyBell Designs if you are looking for Disney digital content because she has a ton of it. Once I get my strips down, then I go ahead and add the 4x6 photos down, and then I do pull out the Doodlebug Petite prints just to cut a 1/4 inch strip for the top and bottom of the photos. Like I said, there were some ribbon pieces that you could cut out from KellyBell Design, and I had designed it with a yellow piece and I just forgot. But then also I don't have a 12x12 printer, so I would had to print it in 8.5 by 11 and then piece it together. So I was okay with just pulling in the Doodlebug Petite prints. The photo on the bottom right is of me hugging Sully. and it's just such a sweet picture. I love that the cast members at Disney World are able to capture these types of moments. And so I did put that photo up on Fun Foam and add it to the right hand side. Then I decided to work on getting my title down. This is one of the things that I love about KellyBell Design, is that they have created these title for you and all of the pieces are already together. So it's just really printing it out and getting it down. I did decide to use the 1mm foam adhesive from scrapbook.com. I think I talked about that in another video. I had purchased these by mistake and they're actually not that bad. They're definitely not something that I'm going to use on a regular basis, but it is kind of nice to have a different level of thickness on my layouts. So using the Fun Foam, the photo on the right is a little bit taller than using that foam adhesive on the left-hand side. But it did take a lot to get it down. And I think that was the other reason that I was okay with using it on the title, because I knew I would use quite a bit of it. And this is a way to use it up. I'm going to use it, obviously, because I purchased it, but I will be selective on the things that I do use. Over on the right-hand side, I start to build my cluster. So I have an embellishment there that says, "Welcome to Monsters, Inc." And then below it, it says, "We scare because we care," and that's scratched out. And it says, "Your smile is our style." And I did put that up on Fun Foam as well. For the Scream canister, I did have to pull out my yellow distress ink and ink up the edges because I did have a little bit of white showing. On Canva, I had designed this door to be a part of that cluster, but because everything got moved around because it was a different size than what I thought, there was already a door in that cluster. So I decided to go ahead and add the door to the left of the photo. And I'm going to build like a small cluster there as well. Now this sketchbook is a great sketchbook. It's very similar to the Whole Picture sketchbook. It only has 4x6 photos in it. It is paid content, so I will link it below for you guys. But it is a fabulous sketchbook and I've used it quite a bit. On the sketch, it does call for a cluster over on the left-hand side. So I start to build up that cluster with the yellow star as well as the little clipboard. And then this collection comes with these buttons that look like Sully and Mike, which I thought were just so stinking cute. So I added Sully's button down, and then because I have to jump around, that's just who I am, I added Mike's eyeball to the title, and then over on the right, I added the little word phrase that says kitty. And then decided to jump back to the top left-hand cluster and add Mike's button. I also put a helmet on Mike's button because he just always wears his helmet, so he has to have it on his button as well. And then I pulled in a sock, because we all know that there's a 2319 somewhere. So I used Fun Foam to pop up the sock next to the word kitty and the door that's over on the right-hand side of the layout. So this area of Disney World at Hollywood Studios is no longer there. It's been replaced, and there's actually a new Pixar area. So I know that Sully is still available for character meet and greet, but unfortunately Mike is not available. So I'm so glad that I was able to get both of them together. I do pull out my color boxes in purple, blue, and green, of course, for Monsters, Inc., and added those to my clusters as well. These enamel dots are not really enamel. They're actually more of like a velvet type of dot. I really like the texture look to it. I'm not even sure where I got them, but I do have them in a couple of colors. I also pulled out a color box in yellow to add a door handle to the door that's on the right hand side. And then I also pulled out my color boxes in red and added a red gem to the top of the door, so it makes the light at the top of the door look more realistic. And then that is it for this video. Here is my final layout, as well as some close-ups. I did do my journaling off camera, and my journaling says, "Hanging out with Mike and Sully was a blast. They even schooled me on the art of scaring. I might just be scare floor material now." Make sure you check out the links below to see how everyone else interpreted the Pixar Fest poster. If you enjoyed this video, if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already and you want to see more double page layout inspiration, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope that you have a scrappy day.